to kick off. We're very excited to kick off our rechartering process in Danbury Council. So my name is Joe Waller. I'm your council commissioner, and excited to kick off and get another year going as we come out of this pandemic and get back to a normal world of scouting, including just freshly back from Peterloon, which was a dose of normalcy. So really a great weekend at Peterloon, a great experience had by more than 4,000 campers out at Peterloon. So what we're going to do tonight is just kick through some basic information about Recharter. And one important thing that we're going to be sharing with you tonight is we are going to be moving to an October 31st recharter. And so we've historically, for a long time, been on a calendar year-end recharter period where the charters end at 12/31. And so we have been out and talked to some of the units across the council and also tested the concept with some other councils that are on a 10/31 recharter period. And we have decided we're going to be moving to that. And so there's a few reasons we're doing that. But number one is to match up our recharter period with the programming that we provide in scouting, and also match it up as closely as we can with the school year that aligns also. We did consider a recharter in the spring or early summer versus a recharter in the fall. And there were a number of key reasons why the fall is a much better time to do recharter, but primarily because as we're going through Join Scout Night and as we're updating and getting new scouts to join by marrying up the recharter period of October 31, there will be some real efficiencies as you all are updating rosters, updating volunteers, just to align it that way. And I do want to note that for those units that are United Methodist units, obviously that is still a work in process that's going on. And at council, we will have more information we're going to release next week as far as helping those United Methodist units to recharter by the deadline of December 31st. And so we'll have that information out next week. That said, we're still going to be covering information that's important to United Methodist and all units tonight. So more to come on UMC, but we'd encourage you all to stay on and listen to what we have to share here also. So Melissa has our first slide up for the night. It's, why do we do rechartering? And so obviously it's that time when we review and we refresh and renew the roster and the relationship with the charter organization, and also just kind of clean up everything so that the data stays in sync with national and stays in sync with the local units and the council records. And then it's just a great time to collect membership dues for the programs that are coming up in the year, and then also adjusting the leader positions and getting everything in synchronicity. So with that, yep, and then also good thought, Melissa. So everybody, as you have questions, we have Lawrence on, and we also have Melissa Ford on. And so Lawrence is our designated chat master. Lawrence is going to be watching the questions, and we will, after we go through a few slides, we're going to go ahead and have Lawrence moderate some of those questions either to Melissa, myself, or Lawrence. You are welcome to answer any that you know the answer as well. And with that, we'll keep going. So as you have questions, just put them in the chat and we'll get to those in the Q&A as we get toward the end. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So, so a big change for 2022 and an exciting change is this chance to better align our recharter year to 10/31. So a couple of important things. Number one, that means there's a little bit of a discount this year because it will be from January 1st through October 31st. That's a 10-month period. And so that means instead of $75 of dues, which is the current, the next year that's been released by National, it will be 10/12 of that amount, which is $62.50. And then there will still be the $5.50 accident and sickness insurance that will apply. But so youths will be $62.50, adults $37.50. So that's 10/12 of what it would otherwise be. Because we're moving and have a short period recharter, That also means for this year only, we're going to have to go back to turning in charters in person. You'll still be able to do the rechartering online, but you'll need to turn it in person. And also payments will have to be made, not online, but turned in with the recharter package. So that's one ramification. And we firmly believe going to a 1031 is going to be better effective use of everybody's time, align better with the school year, and just be a better cadence going forward. And so that's why we've made this decision to do this now. So we'll move on to the next one. So timeline, very similar to previous years. Our timeline is going to be, hauntingly similar. So the recharter system has already opened up. The national recharter opened up on or around October 1st. But we would encourage you, before you log in and get going, actually do some preliminary steps first and have things ready before you log on and start going. And there should be no rush to do this, but you'll see the key steps for you to do starting tomorrow and working all the way through mid-November. But number one, work on reconciling your roster, collecting the fees, verifying youth protection. That's a very important part of this. Look at the Scout Life subscriptions, and then actually test logging into the recharter system and see how that works. So once you have your roster all reconciled and ready to go, that's the key thing to know when you're ready to get on and start logging into the recharter system. So the mid-November to December is when you'll be doing the work online and get the charter organization to sign the charter. And then December 6th through 16th, we'll have throughout the council in the districts, we'll be doing certain turn-in events. Some of those dates are already established, and we'll share those as we get toward the end of the presentation. And some of the districts, we're still working on identifying those exact dates, but we'll have turn-in events similar to what we've had in the past. And that's where you'll do a printed copy, and a payment will be turned in to close out and earn your free rank advancement, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so we talked about reconciling the roster. So you'll want to use my.scouting's roster function to obtain your current roster. And then once you review the roster, turn in the applications or use the online application system, if you do turn on paper applications, you'll need to wait to log on to the recharter system until you see those members on the my.scouting roster. If you're using the online application system, you can begin working online, and you can even send invitations to join right from the system. So it is important to submit applications for any missing members. Applications added to the online charter are not going to be processed until 2023, and you might have to wait 60 days or longer for them to show up on the unit roster. So it's important to know that. All of this affects insurance advancement, and most importantly, the criminal background check that has to be done before we can complete this. And we want to keep our youth absolutely safe. So that's some steps around reconciling the roster. Our district commissioners, our unit commissioners are all good at this and can give units some help. And also we have a very capable Melissa Ford and other staffers who can give help as well. And there's lots of resources online, which we'll go over in a few. So next, we're going to touch on youth protection training. So Melissa, if you can move it to the next one. Yep. So as you all know, we take youth protection training very seriously in the Danbury Council. It's very important for the safety of our programming. And so we have 100% policy where 100% of our leaders need to be trained 100% of the time on youth protection. And so so safety of our scouts is our first priority. And during the rechartering process, there's no exception to that. So we have to, in order to make sure our leaders are going to be 100% trained and to make sure that the recharter process doesn't get stalled by that, we're asking anybody with an expiration date before March 31st of 2023, we would like them to renew that training prior to the recharter being submitted. And that's just to stop if we have a leader who is registered and then their youth protection expires, they are automatically deregistered and not allowed to be a volunteer with the council. So very important as you go through a recharter, look at those expiration dates, and we want to try to match those up as closely as we can with the recharter so that we don't have volunteers that are dropping partway through the year. We want to have those synchronized as best we can. And so personally, I do mine on a 12/31 basis as council commissioner. And so I'm still good. I have another year. I did mine last 12/31, but really good for everybody to know exactly when their date is and get that training done so that you don't lose your membership and have to take the training and start all over again. Okay, so we talked about the online system. So Melissa, why don't you take over the next couple? You cover online system in the next couple of slides.
Sure. So once you have reconciled your roster, collected your money, and you're ready to go into the online system, you'll access that through advancements.scouting.org, and only the unit key 3, which is the Cubmaster, Scoutmaster, Advisor, Skipper, unit leader, the committee chair, and the chartering organization representative automatically have access to it. And then a designated key 3 or charter organization representative delegate can also access that system. The DBC Rechartering website will have instructions on how to assign a key 3 delegate. And so only people who are registered members of your unit can be assigned as a key 3 or charter organization rep delegate. So only those people can process the charter. So it does have to be a registered leader. So if there's somebody that you want to process your charter that's not currently registered, you'll need to get them registered in order for them to do that. Anytime you add a key 3 delegate or make changes like that in people's positions, it can take 24 to 48 hours before that takes effect. So make sure you plan accordingly, and that you're not doing that on the night before the charters are due, because then they would not necessarily be able to access it and do it. Once you log into the system, this is the biggest key takeaway for the evening. When you log into the system, it should pop up automatically and ask you to select the term, like the box that's on the bottom of the PowerPoint. And you can just change that to say 10 months and hit save. Once you've done that, it should stick that way. If for some reason it doesn't come up automatically, you'll need to do it on the next screen, and it's just simply the same question. It's going to say term, and you'll pick 10 months and hit save. You should not do anything else in the system until you've made that change, because once you do work and then make the change later, it's actually going to undo everything you've already done. So you even removing members or things like that you would think wouldn't affect it will. So you need to absolutely do that first. Then any other things that you need instructions on how to do the rechartering system, there's going to be a video the national office put out that's a very good instructional video. Goes through pretty much all of the things you might need to do within the system, including selecting the term. It does have a step-by-step in there. So we will have that on danbury.org/rechartering, and you'll be able to use that to figure out how to do any of the steps you need to do. So then once you have your roster final and you've checked all your Scout Life subscriptions, you've made sure that any adults or youth members that are also in other units have been correctly identified as multiple, or you know for sure they're paying with your unit, then you want to click the Pay and Post button. Once you've gone through the Pay and Post process, where it's going to ask you kind of basic information about yourself, and then that you're going to pay at council, and you'll hit the Submit button, your charter will be electronically finalized. So you'll not be able to make any more changes electronically. If there's ever a point where you need to make a change, you'll have to work with your commissioner or your professional to make that change at that point. So once you've clicked Pay and Submit, Pay and Post, then you will need to do the rest of the process through paper. Well, with one exception, I apologize for that. So we're not going to do online payments, but you will still be able to do, and you will need to do, the electronic signatures. So after you click post and pay, or pay and post, the unit key three delegates and COR delegates will receive an email of the final charter roster and a request for a signature. So it will allow anyone to sign. It is preferred that the COR signs. If the COR is not able to do it electronically, then the person who signs it must have an approval discussion with the COR before signing. Then once that's signed, or, you know, just at the point, we're going to have district turn-in events, as Joe mentioned earlier, where you can bring your charter packet for review and submit payment. So there'll be a list of those later in the presentation and also posted on danbeard.org/recharter. In case you haven't noticed, that's our one-stop shop. So when you turn in your charter, you will need a printed copy of the charter renewal, and that we'd like that to be the one after it's been electronically signed. And when you bring that in, you'll need to make sure you have some time. Someone is going to review that packet at the time you turn it in. So it's best that you attend a turn-in event, or if you cannot make a turn-in event, please make arrangements with your unit commissioner to review your charter. And then if you should happen to find, after we've gone those roster reviews and turned in additional paper applications or done online applications, if you find you still do end up needing to add a paper charter paper application to the charter, you will need to bring that original paperwork along with your charter when you turn it in. And any other documents such as youth background checks or youth protection training certificates for any new individuals.
Yep. And so backed by popular demand is free rank advancement. So it's the same requirements we've had in the past. So no change here, but we're looking to earn free rank advancement. The unit would need to have on time and error-free recharter packet by December 16th. Also need to have a JTE level of bronze or higher, and that form filled out and handed into council no later than December 31st. And then the final requirement would be having a completed detailed assessment with your commissioner, and also have that done and documented by December 31st. And we do understand not every unit has an assigned commissioner. If that's the case, do not panic. Reach out to your district commissioner, and they will assign a commissioner to sit down with you, get that detailed assessment finished and documented, and just make sure to build in enough time with the holidays, et cetera, to get that done by the December 31st date. But very excited to offer that again. And it's been well received in the past, and we're definitely continuing that. So our next slide covers the resources. So Melissa already mentioned our one-stop shop at danbeard.org/rechartering. And so there is a how-to video and some slides that you can look at, completed list of required items with due dates, shows what the annual agreement looks like with the charter organization, the JTE forms for you to fill out, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And most importantly, how to run that youth protection training report and make sure you've got 100% that will not expire. You know, they need to be up to date. Anything that expires prior to March 31st of 2023, we want to get them to run that training and start a new 2-year period as part of Recharter. All right, so then if you are the unit processor, the things you need to be thinking about. So number one, review the roster, and then get any applications for any additional missing adults or youth, and get those to the council service center with the applicable fees. Collect any outstanding fees for members. Already mentioned youth protection several times. And then, you know, consult with anything else that you need at the charter org. And if you have multiple adults, determine which one is going to be the primary registration so that you have that all coordinated. And then finally, so we will have Recharter turn-in events. We have a couple of dates highlighted already as we narrow down the other dates. So for example, Fort Hamilton will have one on Tuesday, December 6th. Trailblazer will be Wednesday, December 14th. As we get the other districts identified, we will update those on the Dan Beard Rechartering website so that you'll have plenty of time to plan those. And those are still a couple of months out. And so plenty of time to get things done. But as we all know, time is going to fly. So no time like the present to get started. And I think with that, we were going to go into some Q&A. So Lawrence, if you have some questions for us, let us know. Oh, actually,
multiple questions. I have answered many of them. Yes.
Okay, cool. Before you do that, I just noticed, so Doug Siebenbergen is on with us, and I'd like to just make a quick introduction and a quick note to Doug. So Doug, we're very excited, is going to be taking over as the Dan Beard Council Commissioner starting in November. And so I just wanted to, I'm sure a lot of you already know Doug. He is a longtime scouter, both as a youth and as an adult leader, and as part of our board of directors for many, many years. Doug has been the VP of programs most recently. Many of you will remember his passion and energy and excitement around the centennial anniversary of Friedlander. And we could not think of a more passionate, more energetic, cheerleader type of commissioner to bring into this position as we cheer out of this pandemic. Doug is going to continue the great momentum we have going with membership and with the services we're providing. And so with that, Doug, just wanted to introduce you to this group. And thank you for your agreement to continue to serve Dan Beard Council.
Thank you, Joe. I'm sorry I'm not able to get my video on there, but it's probably better without my ugly face. But I'm really looking forward to this, and thank you very much for putting the webinar together tonight. It's very informative. Looking forward to a great new year.
Yep, excellent. So Lawrence, it sounds like you've been answering questions real time. If there's any we need to talk about, feel free to fire them our way.
It looks like Lawrence might be frozen. Yeah, he was. So I will just go through some of these questions that we have here and make sure we hit them. So one of the questions was, is there online adult applications? So the answer is yes, if your unit has turned on that feature. So there is the ability to have adults apply online. The only person who can approve an adult, there's two people that can approve an adult application online, the COR and the COR delegate. So if you want to use online applications, just make sure you confirm with your COR that they're going to be able to get on and approve those, since they are the only person who can do that. All right, and we have Lawrence back here.
Hey, Melissa, unfortunately, with me getting kicked off, all the questions that were on my screen have reset. Now, I can tell you there were only about 5 questions that I didn't answer. One of them asked whether Boy's Life term would change. That's a question there.
Okay. So yes, Scout Life term will also go to 12 months. And there's a 60-day or so delay on those subscriptions. So the subscription will actually just shift to end in December of 2023. But you'll pay for just 10 months at the recharter time, which makes it $12.50 for next year, because the actual cost of it for 12 months is $15. So the prorated will be $12.50. Another question that I see here is that if you were previously a Key 3 delegate, are you still a Key 3 delegate, or do you need to be reassigned? So that answer is going to vary by person, because it does typically fall off as your unit recharters each year. So if your key 3 has gone in and reassigned you already automatically, then you should be okay. Otherwise, they will need to do that again. And you'll be able to see that when you log into advancements.scouting.org, that there's a drop down of all your different positions. And so you will see your unit and key 3 delegate if you already are in that position. The next one. So how do I verify that the multiple is being paid for by another unit and not every unit? The best way to do that is conversations with the individual or their parent or the other units. There's not an electronic way to figure that out. How do you change the charter exec? That is a great question. So you'll just go in and you will add a new person, their name and information. You do need their date of birth. And when it says upload application, you can upload just a blank document for that because they do not need an application to change to that position. So you'll just put that in there, and then executive officer will be an option as one of the positions. And I believe they go over that as well in the national video. So if you have further questions on how, you should be able to pick that up from there. And then you can also always connect with your district professional if you have any further questions on it. Will the charter system going to be on the printout? Will the final cost be listed on the printout? Yes, it will. It will give you the prorated costs. So at the end, it will tell you, here's how many youth, here's what you're paying for them, just like it did in the past if you've been around for a while. But it will give you a bottom line. Here's the dollar amount that you need to write your check for. For the question is this all the same for United Methodist troops? That will be done on an individual basis. For the most part, yes. But we're going to send out some more communication, as we indicated earlier, for United Methodist units to give you some guidance on how we're going to go through the changes with that. But this process should still be the same other than that. And there's several more questions now, so I'm gonna kind of have to scroll here for a second. And Lawrence, if you want to grab any of those.
Sure. I'll answer some of these individually here. One question I can see is, how do we find out who our PAX unit commissioner is? And that is from Max. So with that, you would contact your district professional or your district commissioner, and they have a list of the commissioner assignments. I will also say, if you're not able to do a detailed assessment because you're not able to reach someone to do it, you guys will not be penalized for that. So if you're having trouble finding a commissioner to help you do that for something like free rank advancement, just let us know and we'll try to connect you, or we will make sure that you're not penalized.
Yeah, and Lawrence, we just want to make sure with that due date of December 31st, factor in there is the holidays at the very end of December. So reaching out early and often will help us match up that unit commissioner with a unit who needs it. We'll make sure that happens, but just the more time to plan calendars, the better.
There's several questions on here asking about the website and the 2020 information up there. That was actually intentional. We're going to put up the recording from tonight and all of the resources in the next day or two, as soon as our website webmaster can get that all done. But we wanted to make sure the recording was there along with all the other information, so that people were able to get the information about the 10 months through watching the webinar. There's also a question of, can we bring to the service center as well? The answer to that is, it's not the preferred method by any means. We would like for you to bring that to the turn-in event. You can even go to a different district's turn-in event if the date works better for you. because we want to make sure that someone is available for you to review it. And so that's your first option. The next one would be to connect with a commissioner in your district, your unit commissioner if possible, but your a commissioner in your district. And then, you know, your third and final resource would be to make an appointment with your district professional. But we don't typically accept walk-ins for Recharter.
Another question we got was, and this moved, for Recharter, do you have to bring each youth protection certificate, or can you bring the printer report?
So we actually only need the youth protection certificate if the person is new and you're turning in an adult application with it. Otherwise, all of that information is going to be verified through the Recharter system, and it will tell us right on the printout whether or not that person has up-to-date youth protection.
Here's a note on here that says that danbeer.org/rechartering contains 2021 information. Resources, dates, and costs. When will this be updated? And I'm sure that'll be very soon.
It definitely will be very soon. I just can't speak for our webmaster as to how quickly she's going to be able to put that up after I send her this recording. So
it should be up this week.
Yeah, it should be up this week. And there's a question here along with that will the slides be available? And yes, we will put the slides up there as well. Joe, here's a great question for you. Can you explain what the commissioner's review is, which I am guessing is the detailed assessment?
Yeah, so the detailed assessment is when a commissioner sits down with the unit and you walk through the various obstacles and challenges that have been faced, and also the goals of the unit, what you're trying to accomplish, and how to make the program better. And so that all is encompassed in what's called a detailed assessment. The commissioners know how to do it. We do it electronically through commissioner tools, but really the important thing is to sit down, the key three of the unit sit down with the commissioner and just walk through a plan. It's really, it looks backwards in time on what happened in the past, but then more importantly, looks forward on what are those challenges and how can we bring resources to help solve those challenges. But that's what a detailed assessment is. It's a detailed conversation, strategic planning, and problem solving. That's what it's all about.
So here's another United Methodist Church question. What will be the recharter process for United Methodist units? And the answer to that is 98% of it's going to be exactly the same. You're going to go through this online process the same as you would any other year. We'll give some additional instructions as far as the chartering organization portion. By Monday, we believe we'll have that information out, and then you'll work with your district executive to finish that piece of it. One more, somebody asked why 10 months. And once again, we've talked to several units, and through listening to questions we've had, or suggestions we've had over the years to better align rechartering with the program year, the scouting year. So this will allow the scouting charter to run pretty similar to the program year that units are running.
And there's a question, Melissa, about the timeline with that October 31st. So I think the thought would be it's a similar timeline. It would just be a little bit earlier, 2 months earlier, to recharter by October 31st. And so there will be things that can be done as you're in the summer activities, coming out of Scout Camp and then into the Joint Scout Nights, working on the roster. We're actually seeing some synergies and efficiencies of recruiting new members and getting them on the roster and having that all happen at the same time. We're seeing synergies there. And there really was no logic behind a 12/31 other than that's kind of the way it's been for a lot of years.
I have a question here. Do PACs get free advancement with JTE? I'll go back to the free advancement slide here. The free advancement requires 3 things: that your charter is turned in and error-free by the due date of December 16th, that you qualify for bronze or higher on the JTE, and that you have the detailed assessment conducted with the commissioner. So if you meet those 3 requirements, then you will get the free advancement for 2023.
Melissa, here's one. It says, will insurance and unit recharter fee be included on the printed charter?
Yes. Yes. The printed charter will show the fees. And so you'll just be able to write a check for exactly what's written on the charter.
Another one says, where do you get the background check form for new adult leaders who do an online application?
The background check is signed digitally when they do the online application. So the background check verification form. So if you do an online application or an adult does one, then the chartering organization rep gets a copy of that application. They get the references piece, they get the questions of the background information that they fill out, just like on the side panel of the adult application on paper form. So they can review all of that and then make the decision whether they want to approve that adult. It will not allow them to approve and for that adult to actually be registered if they do not sign the background check information or have completed youth protection training. Another quick detailed assessment question is saying, do we need a printout of the detailed assessment to turn in? No, you do not. That's actually all going to be available to us through the electronic system. So we'll be able to just look and get a report of whether or not that was completed.
Melissa, we have a question from Hopewell District that says, this person doesn't see Hopewell District on the slide and hasn't heard it verbally. Did they just pick a location?
Hopewell District, what was formerly Hopewell District, is now Fort Ancient District. So you'll want to look at the location for Fort Ancient District, and you can do that, although you can pick any location. So if that date doesn't work for you, feel free to attend a different turn-in event.
We have a question from one of our good friends. What about the charter organization agreement? When is that due? It sort of came up late in the process last year.
So if you are, it will be due with your charter for units that are not Methodist. For the Methodist units, we'll be working with that as part of the process related to the changes for Methodist units. So yours may be a little bit different and your district professional will help you with that.
I see a question we may have answered. It says, say more about this detailed assessment. Is it required? I feel like we've answered that, but Harry has brought that up. So
yeah, maybe it is not required. It's required for free rank advancement, but it's not otherwise required to recharter the unit. It is a very, very best practice, and really it's for the good of the youth in the program to have that. So, but it's not absolutely required, but strongly suggested and recommended.
there have been multiple questions about Journey to Excellence on here. And what I'm going to ask us to do and make sure we do this week is when we get the charter website updated for this year, we're going to put some Journey to Excellence things in there as an explainer, assuming that people are not aware of what that is. So one of the questions says, what does JTE Bronze stand for? And Michael, that is Journey to Excellence, or JTE, is the way that we give ourselves grades on the scouting program that each unit is offering. So there's just 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold, based on benchmarks that are there and how you feel your scout unit is doing against several things like how much advancement is being earned, how many times are you doing outdoor activities, things like that. And so it's just a self-assessment. And so bronze is the kind of the entry level for units that we want every unit to try to be at least bronze. So it's a score that you give yourself that we review with you for what does JTE Bronze stand for.
And that is the JTE process is a great conversation to have with your commissioner, because as you're talking about what does it take to move from bronze to silver to gold, that's exactly how your commissioner can help you and come up with different ideas and get you the resources to make that happen.
So we have a question about if they should hold any new applications that you might receive and just submit them with the Recharter. Actually, we want you to get those in before you log into the Recharter. So that's why we've suggested to look at your charter, or excuse me, look at your roster through the My.Scouting system. Use that list to reconcile and find any members that you might still need to turn an application in for. Then you can choose to use the online application for those people, or you can turn in paper applications. The reason we don't want you to hold on to those and turn them in with the Recharter is because the Recharter doesn't become effective until January 1st. And it could be late January or even mid to late February before that charter is actually processed and submitted. So especially with adult applications, then that is delaying the background check process by up to really 120 days at this point. So we don't want to do that for the safety of our kids. So we want to get those in early and get that conducted as soon as possible. So go ahead and bring those in. And then once you see them on your My.Scouting roster, then log in to complete your Recharter. There's also another question on online adult applications on how do you enable it. We'll put a how-to on the on the danbeard.org/recharter on how to enable those applications. We'll also, there was a question about what items do you need to turn in. We will also put an itemized list of what you need at turn in on that site as well. The total Recharter fee for adults, we'll go, actually, I've had a couple of fee questions, so we'll go back to that slide here for a moment. Did I just miss it? Nope. So here's the fees for adults and youth, including the insurance. And I did actually forget to put Scout Life. So as a reminder, we said earlier, Scout Life is $12.50 for this Recharter period. One more JTE question here. Does JTE still need to be signed by the unit commissioner? It should be signed by either your unit commissioner or a district or unit commissioner, yes. So I see a few other individual questions here. What I'm going to do is actually make sure I copy these down and share them with the district professionals to make sure they get those answers for you, because they're either reasonably unit specific or maybe related to something specific to your district. So we will make sure we get these questions answered for you, but they aren't necessarily group specific. So I do see one last question. The $550 for insurance, is that prorated for 10 months as well? We do not plan to prorate that fee for 10 months at this point. It is an annual fee, so you'll still only pay it once a year, and then next year you'll pay for the following year.
So in the slide deck, is there a part that shows exactly what items will need to be turned in at a turn-in event? That is a question up here from Julie. It says, can you remind us what items we will need to turn in at the turn-in event?
There we go. So these are the required items to turn in at the turn-in event. You're also welcome to turn in your JTE at that point if you have it completed, but it is not due until December 31st. So you do have an additional couple of weeks to finish that up, and then you can submit that via email, or you can drop it by the Scout Achievement Center, either for that form that it's acceptable to just drop that in.
Okay, well, seems like questions are winding down. So to the extent you have additional questions, Melissa already said, some of the very specific questions that were very unit specific will get you matched up with the district professional. You can always consult your unit commissioner. Just want to close with a big thanks to all of you leaders who are going through this very important recharter process. As you have questions, there will be resources that will be posted. The website will be refreshed once we get this recording up. And then plenty of materials there, and also plenty of experienced scouters who have done recharters for many years. So for those of you who are just doing it for the first time, there's others that have done it and you can get help from. So with that, would like to thank everybody, and looking forward to a very exciting 2023 in Dan Beard Council. Thank you.